In celebration of Mr. JSP John blessing us with the JSP BEAMS J160 reverse lockout shifter, we flash back to last year where Bae86 and I talk about the 3-2 downshift issue on the BEAMS transmission and how it can be outright dangerous in certain situations. Consider this the definitive symposium of why you absolutely need the new JSP Fab BEAMS shifter. Stay tuned and enjoy. On this week's episode of the Autohaus podcast, hey, so I can't believe that this issue isn't more common or like people don't talk about this.
Right? I mean, I how many dudes? There's a lot of dudes that are drifting their beams. Destroys the seals right there. So that was an issue I had. Adjusted it back, pulled it back, I should say, adjusted the angles properly, and I haven't had any issues with that. But ever since then, when I noticed if I'm in second or even third gear, actually it's specifically third gear. When I throw my car and I go to grab second gear, I'm locked out.
Yeah.
And I always thought, I was like, man, this is an issue with something. Do I need another trans? I have the same trans in my car that I've had since I replaced the motor once, but I used the old trans from it. So I said, maybe this trans is on its way out. But then we talked about it, and you told me about the lockout kit. And I heard a couple other guys talking about it, and some guys don't have the issues. A lot of guys do. The reverse lockout kit was something that took me from driving timidly at the top of second to as fast as I possibly can in third gear every time the grid guy tells me to go. So I think I had 3 events so far with the lockout kit. That was really awesome of you to tag me in that major force post and tell me about that, because I never even thought of that being the issue because I don't know how the inside of my J160 works. So that shifter, that eBay shifter you sent me, I made an L bracket. What else did I do? Made the L bracket, drilled out some holes, put it together, and that solved all my lockout issues, and that was the best thing ever.
Yeah, so for the listeners, just to give you guys some context, reverse on a J160 is pretty much where first should be, so it's like one more over. And so when you try to go from 3-2, sometimes you get over into that gate for reverse, and then you get locked out. You physically cannot do the 3-2 downshift. And when you were telling your story, I had the exact same thought in my mind. There's some tracks where I would just lug it in third because I knew there was like a 20% chance I would be able to execute that 3-2 downshift. So I just lug it through the corner.
Yeah. Yeah. It's especially scary because I was driving with my friends. We had started, this is like before I had the lockout, I should say, when I first started tandeming with the guys, I realized how bad it is to not be able to have the freedom of, grabbing second, third. I mean, I don't ever use first, but being able to grab second from third. And it would happen every once in a while. Normally when the trans would get hot, like near the end of the day was when it was the worst. But there's been so many times where it's like my friends are in front of me and I'm in the back of the train, you could say. And I'll throw it in, I'll be in third, I'll go for second. And by the time I've realized that I've been fumbling trying to grab second gear this whole time, I'm already going straight towards a tire wall, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really scary, and especially when I'm in the middle, I would have to stay in second pretty much to initiate, and that was just kind of how it worked out on the tracks we were at.
Yeah.
But I would initiate in second, and I'd be fine. I'll just leave it there. I won't even touch it. But the guy's like, dude, you're driving so slow. I'm like, dude, I can't do anything else. I don't know what you want me to do. My car's broken. And then once I got that lockout in, it was like, all right, you guys ready? Go. Nobody can catch me now. My drift team consists of 2 ISs and an FRS, or a BRZ, I'm sorry, Dave. So they're all stock 2J, and the BRZ is basically bone stock besides a couple suspension bits. I take him to Gapplebee's every time we go to the event.
Woo!
No, that's fine.
Hey, so I can't believe that this issue isn't more common, or like people don't talk about this.
Right? Right? I mean, I how many dudes, there's a lot of dudes that are drifting their beams, and there's a lot of dudes that drive like a lot better than me in their beams cars. And I think I went on Facebook one day and I just like went on the BEAMS 3S page, and I was like lockout or third to second or something like that, like a couple keywords. And I found one post from like 4 years ago where they were talking about it. Yeah, they didn't really go much further than that. So I figured I'd have to talk to a couple people, and Paul from Paul Corolla helped me out too. So
Yeah, I don't know how much research you've done on the issue, but there's a old forum post, and it's someone from the UK talking about back when they were a Lexus tech in the UK, that the IS200s would constantly, they'd replace the whole transmission for that lockout. So they said back in the day there'd be like a stack of J160s, and then but then this is the forum, right? Who knows if this is true, but it seems plausible.
Yeah. I could totally see that. I would never consider doing that.
And then
as like a dealer tech.
And then he said something like Lexus or Toyota of the UK made a revision so that there was a stiffer spring to prevent you from getting into reverse, which I know one guy locally never had a problem with the reverse, like, you know, the 3-2 shift. I guess his had like the hard spring in it.
Yeah, I could see that. Wonder what gen it was. Probably had to be a later one.
And I wish I had the time to figure this out, so like I could just, you know, if it's just like a ball and plunger and just replace with a heavy spring. Cause
yeah, you know, I'm sorry, that's interesting that you say that, because I do, like I said, I have that spare transmission at home that I got from my newest motor set, and that one being a G3, I wonder if that has a revised detent and spring and such.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure there's a detent involved with that. There's like a detent with the spring, but I've also never taken a J160 apart or even bothered to research, because as far as I know, it's just a basic manual transmission.
Yeah. I guess the thing for me is like I actually need to like sit down and find which is the spring for that reverse lockout.
Yeah.
Which is not as easy as it sounds, because the service manual, when they tell you to take apart the trans, is like spring A, or, you know, take out spring, right?
Yeah.
And I say this because actually my my X runner is a 6-speed, and like the architecture is really similar to the J160. And yeah, to crank it into, like, you really have to crank it over to get into reverse. So I have fun in my truck too, quote unquote. So I've never missed the 3-2 shift in my truck.
I wonder since the gearbox portion itself is the ASIN, what was it? It was the same as the RX-8 and S15 gearbox, I believe.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could find an issue with that, or find any more information on that on those forums.
That's a really good point. Or maybe all those issues got resolved when it got to those cars. Who knows? But but like I'm still shocked that no one even talks about this.
Yeah, it's pretty neat, and I guess I can't say hopefully more people come into that issue, because it kind of just sucks. So hopefully people don't have that issue, and they don't accidentally fumble for second when they're in the middle of like a 5-car train and total everyone's cars.
Yeah.
You know?
So do you mind talking a little more about the fix you did? Because I'm honestly, the fix I did for myself is really complicated, and yours is far more simple and elegant.
You know, you had mentioned yours was complicated, and I was like, all right. So when I first messaged you, I had no idea what I was looking for, because I never had a car that had a revert, like a lockout like that. Like that's factory on the BRZ transmission, right? Because my friend David's car, his BRZ, he has like almost the same style lever that you lift up to get over the gate.
Yeah. So the one I modified for my car, that is factory for like a FRS BRZ transmission. That is the factory lockout.
Yeah. Okay. So basically all I did was I got that W58. No, it wasn't a W58. It was, must have been, I guess it was
the 6-speed Supra.
Yes. Yeah. So it was just a generic polished aluminum like shift lever, and it came in a box full of multiple nuts and bolts and springs and stuff. And I was like, I don't think I'm using any of that. I'm gonna figure this one out. So I sat down, I looked at it, and I was like, all right, what's my issue here? Third to second, and I took the shift boot off, and I was like looking at it as I was like pulling it from third to second. I was like, all right, it's right there. So what I got to do was cut a piece of angle iron. I think it was like honestly like 2x2 or something like that. I made a little template, drilled out the holes to bolt up to the top of the shifter assembly. Drilled like a 1-inch hole in the middle. Oh, okay. That was the big thing, was I had cut the bottom of the original shift, the shift rod. Not the shift rod, I'm sorry. The shifter itself, like the ball portion of it. Cut that probably like right underneath of where it would level like the top of the assembly there. So cut that, and then I cut the same spot off of the new shifter, and then I had one of my buddies weld that up for me. And this was all done in like the same day. Like the same day I tackled the project, I was like, I want to get this done because I have an event this weekend. So I called a buddy. He's like, yeah, we'll try it. I don't know what's going to happen, but we'll do it. And it worked. So you just weld the bottom portion of it so it can fit into the factory bushing. You put the angle iron over top of it, bolted it down, and then I put the lever portion of it with a spring on the inside, like how the kit comes. And I gotta say I got a little bit lucky, honestly, because I just kind of started drilling into that bracket, and I was like, oh, hopefully it's like enough. You know what I mean? Like I didn't move it over too far to the right. It worked out perfectly. And what I'll have to do is just make a post of it one day and take better detailed photos. But I mean, I need someone to ask me about it first. You know? Like,
yeah.
No one's having the issue. What's the big deal?
That's it for this week's episode. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, as reviews really help support us. You can do it straight from your desktop. Don't even need an Apple device. This is Autohaus Z. Thanks for all the support, you guys.